Hey guys, so welcome back. My name is Adrian, and as you guys know, St. Patrick's Day just went by. So I think we should finish it off with The Last Snake in Ireland, a story about St. Patrick. Everyone knows that Patrick sent the snakes out of Ireland because they were so naughty, folks were sick and tired of having them around. He tried for years to make them behave, but they just laughed at him. Then he found a gang of them teasing his old lame dog, Finbar, and he lost his temper. Patrick went up a cliff overlooking the ocean and rang a snake call on his magic bell. Snakes slithered in from Kerry. They oozed up from Cork. From every corner of the Green Isle, they answered his summons. When all the snakes were gathered, he led them to the edge of the cliff, swinging his bell around his head, ringing it louder and louder until the trees shivered and the mountains danced. One by one, the snakes crawled down into the sea. Some became eels, some became sea serpents, and some swam all the way to the land that we call America to move in with their cousins. Patrick was very pleased with himself, and he was thinking of a hot, tasty bit and a seat by the fire when he heard a hissy kind of laughter. Twined around a bush in a grassy hollow was the biggest, oldest, sneakiest snake in all of Ireland. "Why aren't you off with the others?" asked Patrick. "I didn't want to go. That ocean is nasty, cold sort of a place for an old gentleman like me. So I just stuffed some leaves in my ears so I couldn't hear your bell. I like it here at home." Patrick knew it would do no good to ring his bell again. He used up all his snake magic. "Won't you be lonely?" he asked. The snake gave Patrick a scornful hiss and slid away. Whenever Patrick went out, the snake was waiting. If he walked in the forest, the snake leaned down from a branch to tap him on the head. When he talked with his friends in the evening, the snake looked in at the window. If he sat in the doorway with a mug of buttermilk, the snake oozed up to take a swig. Patrick even found him under the quilt in his bed. Patrick thought and thought about what to do. It wouldn't be sporting to give the miserable creature no chance at all. Finally, he came up with a plan. He made a box of rare wood and lined it with wool. On the lid, he carved the snake's picture, painted it as red as the Red Hound of Ulster. He fitted each side of the box with an iron bolt that would slide home when the lid closed. Then he waited for summer to end. On the first chilly day of autumn, Patrick made his way to the snake's den by Low Finn. The snake was not happy to see him. He really didn't like Patrick very much. He showed his fangs. "What do you want? Don't you know it's time for me to go to sleep until spring?" he hissed. "I've been thinking about that," said Patrick. And I've worried about you all alone in that cold hole, with the snow falling down and the ice filling in your front and back doors. Just to show there are no hard feelings, I've made you a fine, warm house where you can lie snug all winter. You have to think about tomorrow." "Got my own house," the snake said grumpily. He was very sleepy. "As far as I'm concerned, tomorrow is April 1st, because that's when I plan to wake up. There's no call for you to be so touchy. I'll just leave your fine new house here by the edge of this low in case you want to look it over." If there was one thing Patrick was sure of, it was that snakes are very curious creatures. He left the box on the shore and hid behind a bush. It wasn't long before Snake's head popped out of the hole. He looked all around, and when he was sure Patrick was nowhere around, he went to inspect the box. My, he muttered. "For sure, that's the most handsomest box ever made in Ireland." He wanted it more than anything he had ever seen, but he didn't trust the 4 iron bolts. "Maybe," he thought, "I can pull the box deep into my hole so that no one can lock it while I'm inside. First, I better make sure that it fits." He crawled in onto the fine wool cushion, and he fitted exactly. He was so comfortable that he would have gone to sleep then and there if Patrick hadn't popped out from behind the bush. "How do you like your new house?" Weera, I'm undone entirely," thought the snake. Quick as a wink, he swelled himself up until he was spilling over the sides. "See, it's much too small, but it was a kindly thought, and I thank you." Now, crooned Patrick, who was standing over the box. "I'm sure if you pull yourself in a little bit more, you'll find a fine fit." Like lightning, he moved to slam the lid, but the snake was even faster. He erupted into a fiery streak and made for the hills, with Patrick rushing after, carrying the box and roaring at the top of his lungs. The snake slithered up one side and down the other of the blue stacked mountains. With the strength of his anger upon him, Patrick pushed the mountains open, forming the long glen of hunting, which you can see to this day, and lay on the other side. The snake passed him too quickly to be caught and plunged into the low iron, with Patrick swimming behind. They flashed through the glens of Antrim and tip-tap-top across the Giant's Causeway, where, at last, they were halted by the sea. "I've got you now, my sly one," Patrick crooned as he lowered the box, hoping the snake would jump in. And the snake was ready to give up when an eagle swooped down and caught him in her talons. "Help me, Patrick, help!" he yelled. Now it's true that Patrick wanted to get rid of the snake, but not this way. It was his snake, and he wanted the victory to be his victory. He jumped into a coracle, beached upon the shore, laid the box on his side, and paddled away after the bird. She headed over the Isle of Mull and up the Firth of Lorne until she came to her nest above Loch Ness, where the hungriest eaglets in all of Scotland waited for their dinner. The eagle was brave, the eagle was clever, but she was no match for Patrick. With one jump, he leaped from the coracle to the nest and lifted her over his head. Her beak fell open and the snake fell into the open box below. The lid snapped shut and the bolt slid into place. Patrick jumped down, overturning the bolt, and spilled the box overboard. "Let me out," the snake cried. "Let me out and back to Ireland. I promise I'll be good." "And so I will," Patrick crooned, as he righted the coracle for his homeward journey. "But you'll have to wait until tomorrow." Years later, when he was much closer to being a real saint, Patrick started to worry about how the snake was doing. He made the journey to the banks of Loch Ness. "I'm here," he shouted at the top of his lungs. "Tomorrow has finally come." There was a troubling of the water as the surface was broken by huge red coils. Patrick jumped back in alarm as a face of the size of his house loomed over him, its forked tongue flickering in and out. It was his old enemy, the snake. "So," he hissed, "it's tomorrow, is it? You took your time." Patrick plucked up his courage. "But I'm here, and you don't seem to have done too badly." "Small thanks to you. As soon as I hit the water, I started to grow, and I never stopped. There's a good magic for snakes in this loch. Your puny box broke into little pieces with the pressure." He grinned. "I like it here. They call me the Loch Ness Monster." The end. Well, guys, thank you guys for coming back for another week. Appreciate last week. We had a lot of views on something that I didn't think we would, and I appreciate everyone who stopped and watched, even for a few seconds. Doesn't matter. Helps out the library and helps out reach out to other kids. Thank you guys again. And this was The Last Snake in Ireland, a story of St. Patrick by Sheila McGill McCallan. Illustrated by Will Hillenbrand. So you guys can check this book out here in East Rochester if you guys want to read it at home. Appreciate you guys and have a good day.